Hi everyone. Welcome to my first pop-up color webinar. It's Lori here at the Land of Color, and in this webinar I'm letting you take a peek inside my process for using ultra-portable color measurement devices like ColorMuse, NIX, and Spectra One to measure materials that are multicolored and maybe even patterned. I know this is a topic many of you are wondering about. Just how do you use a ColorMuse, a NIX, a color reader, or Spectra One on things that consist of more than one color and has a pattern? It's also a topic almost all of the naysayers who are trying to convince themselves and sometimes others that these color measurement devices don't work or can't be applied to an architectural color design workflow. They like to focus on what they think these devices can't do because they're reaching for something to support their perspective on the science of measuring color. The truth is, non-uniform color is only a problem if you don't have a process and a strategy to manage it. And there absolutely is a process. It's called multi-point averaging. This approach for managing non-uniform color is an accepted method in the industry for quantifying the color appearance of materials that consist of multiple colors. The NIX blog actually has a post about it, and you might want to go check that out. One of the apps that works with the NIX sensor will do multi-point averaging for you. I, however, like to use the Spectra One from Variable Ink and then set up an Excel spreadsheet to do the averaging for my specific applications. For example, focusing on color attributes like value, chroma, and LRV, like you see highlighted here on this spreadsheet of stone samples. This project is for a builder, and exterior materials have to meet city color restrictions. Like many city governments and homeowners associations, they're using a framework of hue, value, chroma, and LRV to define their codes and ordinances. Let's take a look at some of the stone samples I recently measured for a client. These are samples from the stone supplier, and everyone in the loop has agreed that these are the master samples that will set the standard for future reference and comparison. I almost always do 3 scans in some kind of a logical pattern across the sample, usually left to right, just because people tend to scan their environment left to right because that's also the way they read words. So I scope out 1 light area, 1 medium, and 1 dark spot. If there's a lot of color variation across the sample, then I might do 5 or 7 scans. It really all depends, and I decide if I need to do 3, 5, 7, or even 9 scans based on my visual assessment of the sample. This is a good time to remind everyone that color measurement data doesn't capture or analyze itself. As I always say, a creative human linchpin is required to interpret and apply it. Assigning numerical values to how we see color creates an incredibly useful framework. Experienced designers who know how to use that framework bring an enormous amount of value to the table. Occasionally, I do hit all 9 points, especially if there's any uncertainty, just to make sure there's no margin for confusion. But in my experience, 3 scans work well for my architectural application because we're usually measuring master samples for the purpose of complying with color restrictions and ordinances that are all about maintaining a consistent aesthetic. In most cases, you can tell after just 3 scans if a sample is going to pass or fail. So that's how I get the measurements. Now here's how I keep that data organized. I have a stack of these forms on a clipboard that I take with me on site, and I record each measurement by hand. I've tried doing this with a spreadsheet open on my laptop, but I found that I prefer to write the numbers down by hand, and a clipboard is easier for me to carry. Also, it's easier to think about what the numbers are telling me as I'm writing them down versus focusing so much on entering the numbers correctly on the computer. As I'm writing down the numbers, I'm looking at the sample and checking that the numbers make sense and agree with my visual assessment. If something is off, I can rescan and double check. Multi-point averaging works for all kinds of materials: stone, brick, quartz, textiles. There's really not a whole lot you can't measure. And again, these devices work best in the hands of a trained, experienced designer because it really is a blend of color measurements and color mojo that makes the data values meaningful and useful. The good news is it's easy to get trained and start racking up experience as a color expert. I invite you to check out my course, The 4 Pillars of Color. I teach you everything you need to know to take multi-point measurements like the examples you saw in this video, plus a whole lot more. Go to campchroma.com for more information. Thanks for listening, and I'd love to welcome you into my course soon.